Good morning. This is Tiffany with Healthy Passions. For those who don't know me, let me introduce myself. I am a certified personal trainer, certified wellness coach, and a certified energy healer. What I do on this channel is talk about recent events. I talk about spirituality. I talk about biblical principles from a Bible based mind frame. For a living, I provide online personal training, wellness coaching, in energy healing, in oracle readings. That's what I do based on who I am by birth. I am an oracle, a prophetess, and just a regular woman. So let's get started. Now that we get that out of the way, I want to talk about the other part of the boyfriend and girlfriend relationships, as promised. If you don't know, I did a couple of videos last week in reference to why boyfriend and girlfriend relationships are demonic and modern dating is done completely wrong. And the reason why I want to come back is to expand on that more. Why I believe that boyfriend and girlfriend romantic relationships are demonic. Okay? So let's start with the first and the obvious. There is no contract within these marriages. If you listen to the first video, in marriage, there's supposed to be a business side and a what we would call vows, VOW in this culture, but basically a breakdown of what is expected of the spouses in the marriage. A contract will be drawn up, and within that contract, if the marriage does not work out, it's already stated what should be done. Okay, so there's an obligation, there's something to look towards. If your husband or your wife is breaking the contract, there's something that they can go back to kind of get back on track. In these boyfriend and girlfriend relationships, there is no contract. It's verbal and physical only, and basically a counterfeit of marriage. All right. The next one, the next point I want to bring up is there's no expectation of marriage. Now, most women get into these relationships expecting marriage. Most men, however, not always. Most times, not. It's a matter of convenience for most men and some women. For most men, it's a matter of I like this and this about you, but I don't want to actually take you seriously and build a partnership with you, a lifetime commitment. It's I like your sex, but I don't like this and this about you, or whatever the case may be. The expectation of marriage is not there. Also, the third reason is it's unlawful sex. Okay, let's just put it out there. Unlawful sex, and that in itself is a world of issues. I think I will expound on that more later on in the video. Just remember unlawful sex. And with that being said, there is naturally an insanely high body count on both sides of the men and the women. Because when the boyfriend and girlfriend relationships don't work out, to fill that void or whatever they're trying to fulfill or their sexual gratification, they just go to the next person. Next thing you know, I've seen people admitting to 200 partners, 500, 800, in the thousands. It has gotten ridiculous. There is no way on God's green earth that you should have that type of connection with that many people. It's ridiculous. It's gotten to the point to in society a man is kind of rewarded for having such a high body count, and women are shunned upon for good reason, but both should be shunned upon. It's not just one. The chances of getting a sexually transmitted disease, um, horrible energy transfers between two people, and the chances of trauma and abuse is so high within being so sexually free. Okay? All right? It is an unlawful expectation of faithfulness, as discussed in ancient Hebraic marriage or biblical marriage. The expectation is faithfulness. Now, it's written on paper, so if someone breaks that expectation, there will be consequences and repercussions that are not so favorable for them. Now, in a boyfriend and girlfriend relationship, faithfulness is expected, but it's unlawful. Why would someone be faithful to you if they're not obligated to you in any way, shape, or form? The expectation is silly on both sides. When a man gets cheated on by a girlfriend, the trauma from that is horrible. When a woman gets cheated on by a boyfriend, the trauma of that is horrible. Then they bring that toxicness to the next relationship, and they just build up more toxicity. And by the time they get to their ordained spouse, the one that God chose for them, they have all of this baggage that they bring to the right person, and they treat that person wrong in most cases, or they're not ready to fulfill their commitment as a spouse by the time they get to the right person, unless they have healed and worked through it. But 9 times out of 10, most people don't do that. All right, so the next point is, I'm reading my notes. The idea, this is more men, but I'm starting to see now that more women are in this mindset, and it's heartbreaking. The idea and the mindset of you're with me, but I'm free to be with whoever I want. All right? That is crazy. I like these attributes about you, and I don't want anyone else to have you, but I can have whoever I want. I even see this within marriages, to where it's so bad that people are doing commentaries on married men being the most single man. Okay? Even the single men have more standards than most married men these days, and it is ridiculous. But even now, I see women, they'll get a hold of a decent man, a good man, or whatever the case may be, and you're with me. I want all of what you can provide for me, but I'm still going to sleep with other men. That is insane. There's no standard to keep there. Okay. All right. So the next point would be no system to care for the woman if they break up. Like I said, in the marriage contracts that are drawn up, there is provision for the woman if it doesn't work out. Okay. Or for the man, whatever the case may be, whatever that contract has. Okay. So the next point would be maybe keeping you from your true spouse. Okay. So, yeah, when you're wasting time 5, 2, 3, 5, 10, 15, 20 years with a so-called boyfriend or girlfriend, you may have missed your opportunity to be with your spouse, the one that God chose for you. Wasting time. I've seen it to where people have met their spouse that God has for them, and they got the message, but they're in these silly relationships, and they're like, oh, I can't be with you right now. And that person's not going to wait forever for you to stop being foolish in your boyfriend girlfriend relationship to wait for you. They're not going to wait, and they shouldn't have to. And then also the last one is, boyfriend and girlfriend is a counterfeit of what God ordained for marriage. So you're basically pretending to be married, whether you live together or not. You're pretending to be married, but also still single and a free agent to leave at any time you want. There's no expectation. God holds us to standards in everything that we do. There is a standard. God doesn't come down to meet human standards or people standards. We as people come up to God's standards. And this is a form of protection for the man and the woman within the relationship. You're not going to be protected if you are in sin in a counterfeit relationship, period. So I added two more before I started because I wanted to get everything in here. The other issue would be soul ties and sexual demon transfer. There are so many people caught up in heartbreak over a boyfriend or a girlfriend who they were not supposed to be with anyway. And instead of breaking the soul ties and the strongholds from that relationship and healing so that they can prepare themselves for their real person, they stay stuck in that for years at a time. And that is the way the enemy steals your blessing when it comes to marriage relationships. Now, sexual demons is another thing. You can get incubus and succubus spirits from that, but there's other demonic energies that can be transferred during sex. Sex is a very vulnerable act. It is something to where you are exchanging your DNA, you are exchanging your spirit, and if that person is a toxic person, they are dumping that into the other person. And 9 times out of 10, there's trauma from the past that hasn't been healed on both sides, so they're just compiling it over and over. The Holy Spirit's giving me an example. You've ever seen a woman who is, let's just say a woman who is just bright, has a bright future, doing well, loves God, living right, and then she hooks up with a toxic man. And then eventually, over time, you see her picking up that toxic man's behavior patterns, maybe getting into drugs or whatever the case may be. I've seen it on both ways. So the man was good and the woman was bad, whatever the case may be. They pick up those toxic traits because they're exchanging energy and demons and family curses through sex. Sex is very important. People are not taught exactly what sex is, and that's why God wants to protect sex in the confines of marriage. Okay? Um, Unnecessary heartbreak and trauma. There are so many people in abusive relationships, whether it's emotional abuse, physical abuse, or verbal abuse. It's all trauma. And they are stuck in those relationships, some of them not making it out of those relationships. It is death. You're giving demons access to your life when you allow those toxic, traumatic relationships to stand. Some people don't make it out. They either commit suicide or their partner deletes them. Okay? And we are seeing that at an all-time high in these last days. And it is very unnecessary. Um, you need to preserve your life and wait for God to write your love story, because your love story is more than a love story with God. With God, it is a complete blessing. It is a upholding and protection of a whole generation to for generations to come. He will heal that generation when you do it the right way. And most people are very impatient, and society tells you you should be married by this time, this time, this time. A woman is too old at 25. Can you imagine being too old at 25 for marriage? That is stupid and ridiculous. And a lot of times, women are not allowed to learn from their mistakes or live their lives because they are expected to be almost perfect like an angel, while the men in society are allowed to run wild, whoremongers, just be like dogs. Like, it's ridiculous, almost animalistic with their lust. And they're not expected to combat the demonic spirit of lust, but they expect that woman to. A woman can do the same thing and they will just go off the hinges. And they've done it 10, 11 times and they expect forgiveness. And that's just not how life works. Each side needs to take a time out and heal themselves, get with God, and allow God to teach you to do it the right way. The Bible is very clear on what marriage is. Um, Even if you're not biblical. It is still in your best interest to find a partner to marry that is equally yoked with you as well as faithful to you. There is no benefit in all of these extra people in your marriage. All right, so I don't want to drag this out. I got some stuff to do today, but I do want to get the last point. When you are in a boyfriend girlfriend style relationship, you actually hellbound because you're in fornication. And in some cases, if the person's married, you are in adultery. And that is sin. You will go to hell for that. There's no way around it. And there is no way to be like, well, God, I was just lonely or this and that. No, God fills that void. You do not need another person to fill that void. You need to come and lay it at the altar and let God heal you. Um, is any person on this planet worth going to hell for? I say no. I'm not going to allow a person to play with my life. And if I die in that sin, I go to hell. I'm not going to allow that. So there is no reason for it. Um, I'm sorry, but when you are dating the way society has dating now, it is a recipe for failure. This is why marriages are not working. When you court and vet, you have the opportunity to meet a lot of different people to see what you like, what you don't like, without having sex with each person. It's a healthier way to explore relationships. I love you guys. The next one on Wednesday will be why Roman style marriages um, and Hebrew marriages for believers are so different. We're going to explore what society views love and marriage as nowadays versus what it should be. And then that should end this series unless the Most High wants me to continue. But I think we have within all of these videos just about everything we needed. That would be the last part of it. I love you guys. Take care. And yeah, don't worry about boyfriend and girlfriend relationships. How dare you be upset that a single person cheated on you? Well, maybe that's their spouse. You never know. You know what I'm saying? Now, if a married person under contract cheats on you, that's a different story. You can even take that to court because it is still a contract. I love you guys. Take care. Have a good one.